As the official team doctors for high school and college teams across Greater Omaha, MD West One Sports Med doctors can get you back into the game, stronger than ever. Meet the Sports Med team at mdwest1.com or call 402-390-4111.
It's time for another Nebraska Prep Zone report. We are sponsored today by MD West One, Nebraska's most advanced sports medicine, orthopedics, neurosurgery, and spine care, covering Greater Omaha for over 70 years. I'm your host, Jake Anderson. Joining me today is Nick Rubek. And Nick, this really does feel like soccer. It's early in the morning. We're preparing for the games to start on the pitch.
Yeah, I see the sun out a little bit. I'm sure that'll go away soon, and we'll get that old England dim over the place and be ready for it. But yeah, man, Christmas morning for all the soccer folks out there, and 8 days to look forward to now. And yeah, let's get it going.
Yeah, you're about to head down to Morrison Stadium after this, and it's Class A first round. So let's dive right into it with Class A boys. That first round: Omaha South, Millard West, Gretna, Lincoln Southeast, Lincoln Southwest, Grand Island, and Creighton Prep against Millard South. And Junior Jay's kind of snuck in this year.
Yeah, get the wild card, and needed, all four teams in front of them to win. Sweated out a couple of those. South goes to a shootout. Gretna falls down by 2 goals before coming back. Southwest, had controlled their match a little bit, but yeah, they are in. And yeah, that's the 7:00 game, the night game, under the lights. Should be awesome. Millard South coach Jim Cooney retiring at the end of this year. 23 years with the Patriots. Won a state title in 2008 and hasn't been back to state since then. So back there this year, that should be awesome. He and prep coach Tom Hoover actually grew up together, same neighborhood, running around together. And so that should be a super cool night. But, before that, there's 3 really, really intriguing games. Start the day with South and Millard West. South has won twice. They played twice within 5 days, and those were very different matches. Millard West in the first one led before South came back and won, and then in the second one, South won 5-1. That should be interesting. I mean, that early game at the state tournament, especially day one, is kind of a sleepy little game sometimes, and you couple that with a South team that has flipped the switch on and off when it needs to. And, hopefully the alarm went off early for them this morning, and they're ready to go. And then you roll into that second game, Gretna and Southeast. They have not played. The only match of the first round that's not a rematch. Gretna's been there and been good all year. I know they had some injuries on the stretch, but they came back and won a very high level district final against Bryan. Southeast has been in the mix all season, and they're kind of the one that maybe no one's talking about, that you spring an upset in the first round, and then you catch the right break in the second round, and now you're in the championship match. And so they're capable of doing that for sure. And then the 4:00 game, Lincoln Southwest against Grand Island. Southwest is unbeaten, but Grand Island led them 2-0 when they face off in the regular season. So I don't anticipate Grand Island going in there thinking they're a heavy underdog by any stretch of the imagination. So all in all, a really good slate for the first day.
And then you have Omaha South and Gretna in one semifinal, and Lincoln Southwest, Creighton Prep in the other one, with Southwest over Omaha South as your title pick.
Yep.
And that would be a difficult path for Southwest. As you note, the Packers have won 3 of the last 7 state titles.
Yeah.
If Southwest wins, they would earn it.
They would have absolutely earned it. And I think they would tell you that they wouldn't want it any other way. I think that the outside knock on Southwest has been, who did they play? Who did they go through this year? They didn't get that Metro schedule. So, for them to be able to go through a Grand Island team that went nose to nose with them at one point, to go through either a Prep or a Millard South. And then to go through, potentially in Omaha South, Gretna, someone from the other side, they would have absolutely won 3 matches that were difficult matches to get to that point. So,
and the thing about the Islanders, who you noted as your sleeper team, it wouldn't be totally shocking if they can pull off of the upset over Southwest to see them in that title game.
Yep, they've got the capabilities for sure, and that's the other thing about the bottom half of that bracket. When you talk about your Prep and your Millard South, those are 2 teams that have struggled to score goals this year, and both of those coaches would be brutally honest when they told you that. So when you have teams like that, a match can go any way. When those 2 played each other the first time, I think it was 1-0 in a shootout, so nobody scored. So you get into a semifinal and you struggle scoring, the other team gets an early one, and that can be it for you. So, yeah, I mean, any one of those teams, I think, honestly, can find themselves in Tuesday's championship and not have been surprised that it happened.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. Jumping to the other side of Class A, the girls bracket, interesting first-round matchups as well. Gretna against Kearney, Lincoln East against Papillion La Vista South, Lincoln Southwest, Millard North, and Omaha Marion against North Platte. And kind of the key question to me is the one that you noted. How do the Dragons respond to their first loss?
Yeah. Losing a shootout to Millard North in the district championship. Some teams may kind of have questions about themselves. Something about Gretna tells me that they're going to use that to their advantage. I mean, they have been consistently all season a step above the rest of the state. And, that is a team built for the wider field at Morrison Stadium, built for a few rugged games in a short span. Built to score goals, built to get up early and really put pressure on. So it would not surprise me in the least if we see them completely run through this tournament. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if we see them get to a semifinal against a Lincoln East and run into another talented team and really have to kind of dig deep to get through. So yeah, that top half of the bracket is very intriguing to me. The bottom half, that Southwest Millard North game, I think it's a true toss-up, honestly. I know Southwest is unbeaten, but Millard North has played some of the best soccer of the season in big spots in the Metro tournament, in the district tournament. So I wouldn't expect anything less out of them tomorrow afternoon in that 4:00 game. And then, you get to Marion North Platte. On paper, Marion is a heavy favorite, history and recent success this season. They've really kind of turned it on down the stretch. So I'd consider Marion a heavy favorite, but North Platte has gotten to this point and shown that they deserve it. They have a win over Scott. They're the only team that beat Scott this year. So that is probably something they can point to for confidence when they get down to Morrison.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing to me is kind of the underlying, it's not a key storyline, but it's still there. Your sleeper team, Millard North, can they parlay that district championship into a run in the state tournament, upset Lincoln Southwest, and maybe make it to the championship? Yeah,
you're absolutely right. I looked up and saw this the other day, and I told Marion coach Teresa DeGeorge, in the history of Nebraska state soccer, there's been 2 seasons where either Marion or Millard North wasn't in a final, which is just absolutely mind-boggling to me. So if one of those 2 comes out of that bottom half of the bracket, I mean, it would in most seasons be like ho-hum. But, this season, if it was Millard North, it would be a bit of a surprise to most. But you're absolutely right. They have come up in big spots, and against Gretna in the district final, they pull maybe the best keeper in the state, Sydney Anderson, out of goal, put her at forward just to get a presence up there, kind of throw the Dragons a curveball. It'll be interesting to see tomorrow if they stick with that plan. They had a sophomore keeper that stepped in and came up with some monster saves against Gretna. So very interesting stuff tomorrow as well at the state tournament.
And to kind of tie it all together or eliminate all your championship, Gretna, Lincoln Southwest. The semifinals, Lincoln or Gretna, Lincoln East, Lincoln Southwest, Omaha, Marion, kind of the path you took there. But Gretna Southwest, that's the one that everyone wants, right?
Yeah, I mean, I went chalk in that tournament, and we all know what that means when you're picking a bracket at the state tournament. But that would be a whale of a game. That really would. I think Gretna having to go through potentially Lincoln East and then a Lincoln Southwest would be much like Lincoln Southwest on the boys' side. That would be Gretna really earning it. So Lincoln East is going to be a very, very difficult game for Gretna. That is not an easy one. And it's not one that's guaranteed yet. You know, both those teams have to win in the first round. But Gretna against an undefeated Southwest team that is stingy, doesn't give up a lot. Gretna's offense, the most goals scored in the history of Class A girls soccer. Juicy. That'd be a juicy one for sure.
Have we ever had an all Lincoln championship? Looking at this, we have Lincoln East, Lincoln Southwest.
I believe we had one, and it was one of the 2 years that Marion and Millard North did not play in it, and then the other year I think was Millard West, Omaha West side. But I think you bring up a great point there that Lincoln soccer. I don't know if it's a revolution. They've been great this year. They've been at the top, near the top of the polls, and multiple teams. You know, in a lot of years you'll have one team that's good and kind of puts their nose in the metro way and kind of tries to bully their way into things. But you have two teams in both brackets, and that I think is a storyline to watch this week for sure.
Yeah. And then going to Class B, let's start with the boys side. First round, Lexington, South Sioux City, Elkhorn, Mount Michael, Columbus, Scotus, Omaha, Scott, Platteview, and Bennington, Grand Island Northwest. We kind of have those two favorites that we're expecting to come out of each side of the bracket, Scott and Lexington, but who can upset the apple cart there?
Yeah. It's a great question. I mean, those two are head and shoulders kind of above everyone else in that class. And, you know, combined, they have 2 losses. Scott beat Lexington for one of those losses. Scott lost in a shootout to Lincoln Southwest for the other loss. It would be to me a major surprise if those two didn't play for the state championship. But, you know, just like some other groups or some other teams in this tournament, you know, Lexington starts with a South Sioux City team that is always capable. They are, and especially getting them on a big field. I think that they'll show their possession game and they'll be an early challenge. You know, Scott, if you get by Platteview, then you've got either a Bennington or a Northwest. Both those teams have been firmly in the mix in the top 5 all year. You know, so that would be a challenge too. Scott, I think, is built for this tournament. They just don't give up goals. I mean, they haven't given up a goal since the first weekend of the season. You know, they defensively, you know, John Myers, the defender, and then Zach Weiss at keeper. They're just so good defensively that, you know, fortunately you got to score at some point to win one of these matches, and they're just not giving up goals. So I would consider those two teams heavy favorites, probably the heaviest of favorites in any class to get to the championship.
And considering that they outscored their opponents 50-3 in the 6 sub-districts and district matches, I don't think you're going to get much argument there.
Yeah. And all 3 of those goals Lexington gave up in blowouts, you know. But yeah, they are, it would be a fascinating rematch to see those teams go again, you know, and throughout the course of a season, the teams change quite a bit. And so from what those two teams were the first weekend of the season, if they get to next Wednesday's title game, roll them out there and let's see.
And that's what you have picked for your championship, and you have Scott winning. What would Lexington need to do to break through that Skyhawks defense?
Yeah. You got any tips for them? I don't. They scored. They're the last team that scored on Scott, so they would go into that match probably knowing, hey, this isn't Ivan Drago. We can beat this team. I think they would want to possess the ball. I would imagine they'd tell you that that's the route they'd want to go. It would be an uphill climb for them as well in that match. But again, they are fully capable of doing that. They've been scoring goals at a crazy clip. So they would have the confidence. That would be must-see theater for sure if those two could connect.
And then moving to the other bracket in Class B, girls, surprise, surprise, Scott's the favorite. I'm just going to put that out there before we start. Those first-round matchups, Norris-Lexington, Omaha-Duchesne, Omaha-Mercy, Omaha-Scott, Omaha-Roncalli, and Lincoln Lutheran-Raymond Central against Columbus-Scotus.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Scott is this is one of John Carlson's best teams. They do it offensively. CC Barons is scoring goals at a wild pace. They do it defensively. They're not giving up goals. John Carlson, I think, firmly believes they have the best defense in the state, no matter what class. So, they are the team to beat for sure. Starting against a Roncalli team that they've beaten this season, conference opponents, but a Roncalli team that went on the road and scored 11 goals in a district final, so they're going to be playing with some momentum, some confidence. That other side of the bracket is the one that I'm going to kind of want to keep an eye on. And you have your unbeaten Norris against a Lexington team that beat Blair in the district final round. They're in their first state tournament, playing with some excitement, some momentum. Duchesne and Mercy, again, conference rivals, playing in that first round. Mercy is capable of getting to the semis, getting to the final. Duchesne is capable of doing that. Norris is probably favored over Lexington, and Norris, obviously unbeaten. They're capable of doing that. So, whatever team comes out of that other side of the bracket, and gets likely a Scut in the final, I think you have to watch that. You have to see if Scut can handle one of those groups and continue to do what they've done all year.
And just looking at your notes here, it almost kind of feels like a 30 for 30 year championship. You picked Omaha Scott over Norris, but if we get Norris and Scott, the Skyhawks this season outscored in Class B matches, outscored their opponents 69-1. Norris is seeking its first win at the state tournament. So if Norris beats Scott, it kind of feels like that 30 for 30. What if I told you a team seeking its first tournament win beat the team seeking its seventh state title since 2009? It feels wild. Yeah.
At 18-0, it's hard to call Norris David but they would be David in the Goliath matchup. And I think everybody would tell you that. With that being said, we've seen in recent years, and I know Scott coach John Carlson's not going to like me bringing up this bad memory, but we saw Elkhorn and Skylar Heinrich go in there and pop a couple of goals and beat them in a state final when Scott probably in the other 10 positions on the field was much more advanced than Elkhorn was. But Elkhorn did what it needed to do and got the ball to its best player, and the best player in the state that year scored a couple of goals. So, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. It would be documentary worthy should it happen. But yeah, that's what makes the state tournament so fun, is you just don't know what's going to happen.
And then that other one, that matchup that you're kind of circled that raised an eyebrow to me, or that's interesting, is the Duchesne Omaha Mercy. You picked Duchesne to win and the sleepers Mercy. So it kind of seems like one of Duchesne Mercy could get right there, conference rival facing Scott in the title game.
You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Duchesne has won, I think, twice against Mercy this year. I could be wrong about that one, but convincingly won. Duchesne is a very good team, a very solid team. And, I had noted in that prediction column that if whoever Norris gets in that semifinal, if they get by Lexington, whoever they would play, that would be their toughest match of the season, no matter if it's Duchesne or Mercy. Those are two very, very good teams that play in a tough conference. So, have some losses. Mercy has 2 Class A losses. And then obviously they've lost to Scott and Duchesne. So that semifinal would be tough for Norris. So that would not be a surprise to see either of those two teams get all the way to Wednesday's final and get one last crack at their conference foe for sure.
Well, I'm looking forward to the tournament. I'm sure you nailed 100% of these picks, every single bracket, every game right.
Yeah.
But we'll have live updates on omaha.com throughout the entire 8-day event. You'll be tweeting out updates at Nick Rubek OWH. I'm looking forward to 8 days of soccer.
Yeah, let's do this, man. Plenty of Red Bull ready. Let's get after it.
All right. Well, Nick recorded this right before he heads to Morrison Stadium for the first day. So we're right here in soccer mode. I'm looking forward to it. Until next time, thanks for joining us, Nick, and thanks for listening.